You know, have you ever thought about those hidden worlds that exist right next door to places we think we know inside and out? What if I told you that just a short drive from one of India's most famous tourist spots, Manali, there's a land so different, so starkly beautiful, it feels like you've just stepped through a portal onto another planet? Well, today, we're going through that portal. We're going to Lahaul.
And hey, that's not me exaggerating. It's pretty much the first thing everybody says when they pop out of this 9-kilometer tunnel and leave the familiar world behind. I mean, one minute you're surrounded by the lush, green, bustling valleys of Kulu, and the next you're in a high-altitude, cold desert. It's a landscape that completely redefines what you think the Himalayas look like.
The contrast is it's staggering. On one side of the Pir Panjal mountain range, you've got Manali, a world of deep greens draped in pine forests, famous for its apple orchards. Then, on the other side, now just minutes away, is Lahaul. We're talking a realm of barren, golden brown mountains, impossibly deep blue skies, and glaciers kind of hanging on for dear life to these massive peaks. The switch is so sudden, it almost feels like a magic trick.
And that, right there, is the huge question we're tackling. You see, for centuries, Lahaul was a land defined by being completely cut off. The opening of the Atal Tunnel in 2020, well, it didn't just build a road, it punched a hole clean through time and geography, and it forever changed a way of life that had existed for generations. To really get what Lahaul is now, we have to understand what it was. Before this tunnel, life here was dictated by one single powerful force: the snow. And it created a reality that's honestly hard for us to even imagine today.
People called it the Rohtang Rule, and that's exactly what it was. The Rohtang Pass wasn't just some mountain crossing, it was the absolute ruler of Lahaul. When its gates slammed shut under feet of snow, that was it. The entire valley, a district larger than some small countries, by the way, was completely sealed off. Nobody in, nobody out. This wasn't a small inconvenience, it was the fundamental truth of life there.
And this timeline, this really shows you the rhythm of life back then. You had this frantic, crazy few months in the summer, a huge rush of trade, travel, stocking up on everything. But then, as autumn rolled in, you could feel the clock ticking. By October, it was a race against the first big snowfall, with everyone stockpiling absolutely everything they would need to survive until the pass opened again, hopefully the next May or June.
Just try to imagine it. For 6 solid months, no fresh vegetables, no mail, no newspapers, no doctors from the outside, nothing. You lived on what you managed to store. And this incredible hardship forged this really unique culture. The people of Lahaul, the Lahaulis, they developed this legendary sense of self-reliance, of community, of just pure resilience. Life was tough, for sure, but it was also quiet, untouched, and deeply connected to the land.
And then, everything changed. The solution to the Rohtang Rule wasn't to try and tame the pass. It was to go right through the mountain. A modern marvel of engineering that now acts like a permanent, all-weather portal to this once-hidden world.
Let's just talk about the sheer scale of this thing for a second. At over 9 kilometers long, the Atal Tunnel is an absolute masterpiece. I mean, boring through the heart of the Pir Panjal range at an altitude of over 10,000 feet, that was a monumental task that took a full decade to pull off.
And the impact? It's almost impossible to wrap your head around. A journey that was impossible for 6 months of the year and took 4 to 5 hours over the dangerous Rohtang Pass in the summer now takes about 15 minutes. It's compression of time and space that is just mind-boggling. The barrier that defined a culture for centuries was just, poof, erased, basically overnight.
And when the door opened, the world rushed in. Look at these numbers from 2022, just 2 years after the tunnel opened. Over 600,000 vehicles carrying almost 2 million tourists poured into a valley that, until just recently, was one of India's best-kept secrets. This single change just completely altered Lahaul's destiny.
So, what is this world that's been opened up? Well, Lahaul isn't just one single place. It's this complex network of different valleys, and each one has its own personality, its own stunning beauty. All right, let's take a quick tour. The second you exit the Atal Tunnel, the first place you meet is Sisu. It's become the gateway to Lahaul, a beautiful village that's now a major hub. It's famous for this incredible waterfall that freezes into this giant ice sculpture in the winter, and there's a peaceful little lake there that perfectly mirrors the massive peaks around it. For most people, this is their first breathtaking taste of what Lahaul is all about. As you drive deeper, you get to Tandi, a spot that's hugely important, both geographically and culturally. This is where 2 powerful rivers, both born from different glaciers, finally come together. You've got the Chandra River flowing in from the east and the Bhaga River coming down from the north. At Tandi, they merge, creating the Chandrabhaga, a river that then carves its way through the Himalayas and eventually becomes the mighty Chenab River.
So those two rivers, the Chandra and the Bhaga, they define the main valleys of Lahaul. But there's more. The Pattan Valley, where the combined river flows, is surprisingly the greenest part of the whole region, a fertile belt where they grow potatoes, peas, even broccoli. And then you have the really remote Miyar Valley, this stunning, narrow, S-shaped gorge that's an ancient trekking route connecting Lahaul to the even more remote region of Zanskar.
But, a place's soul isn't just in its landscapes, it's in its deep and complicated history. And Lahaul is a land that sits right at a crossroads of culture and religion, and it's been shaped by ancient rulers, powerful monks, and a really unique spiritual harmony.
Maybe the most fascinating thing about Lahaul is its spiritual identity. If you look at a map, it's literally squeezed between the Hindu-dominated areas of Kulu and Chamba to the south and the Buddhist-dominated regions of Spiti and Zanskars to the north and east. And this has created this amazing cultural blend, where Hindu and Buddhist traditions didn't just live side by side, they actually merged together.
And the Trilokanath Temple is the most powerful symbol of this. It's a single shrine where two different faiths worship the very same deity. Hindus see the idol as Lord Shiva, while Buddhists believe it's the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. When you go inside, you'll see Hindu priests doing their rituals right next to Buddhist prayer wheels spinning silently. It's just an incredible, living example of peaceful coexistence.
The history here is so layered. For centuries, you had these local rulers called Takwars, who governed from these incredible forts, like the 7-story Gondla fort. Then the British came and basically integrated these guys into their system, calling them wazirs. But running parallel to all this political power, you always had the spiritual authority of the ancient Buddhist monasteries, the Gompas. Places like Kardang and Shashur have been centers of faith and learning for hundreds of years, preserving this rich Tibetan Buddhist heritage.
So all of that brings us right back to today. The portal is wide open, the world is pouring in, and Lahaul finds itself at this really critical moment, staring down both massive opportunities and some pretty immense challenges.
Just let that sink in for a second. A society that was built on 6 months of complete, total silence and self-reliance is now suddenly dealing with the noise and pressure of 2 million visitors every year. This isn't some gradual change. It's a full-blown revolution happening in less than a decade.
What you're seeing now is a really delicate balancing act. The tourism boom, of course, brings in money. New hotels, homestays, jobs. But that has to be weighed against traditional farming, which is still the backbone of so many villages, and this urgent need to protect the fragile ecosystem and the unique culture that made Lahaul so special in the first place.
And that leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? The Atal Tunnel opened a door to Lahaul for sure. But what comes through that door and how Lahaul manages it is going to define its future. Can this place embrace a new era of connection and money while still protecting the very soul of what made it a hidden gem for all those centuries? That's the challenge, and the answer is being written as we speak, right in the heart of these incredible mountains.